We're here, and this is the problem I have with staff, guys. You know, Lawrie said he wanted more prominence. So what he's done now, he's split the screens 50-50, and I'm sure I'm slightly under 50%.
No.
I'm sure he's got 55%.
Now look at this. This actually, I was in my regular place until about 2 minutes before we went live, and I was demanded by Simon to do that. So now my camera is right at the other end of my screen to try and make all the angles work, and actually I've done it so that he has about 55% of the screen because I knew that would come up.
Yeah, it has come up. I'm going to measure it with my ruler very shortly, and this was because we had a complaint from one of our viewers who said poor old Lawrie never gets no serious representation. So here he is now.
Nobody wants to see my face.
Here he is. He's unshaven. He's had a sort of haircut-ish.
A lockdown haircut.
I've got no hair to have cut, so that's easy. But we're back. We've had a bit of an interesting day. Until about 10 minutes ago, we didn't know whether we were going to be live tonight because we've had all sorts of IT issues and one thing's not talking to another thing. Lawrie can talk you through it in such detail that I guarantee you will be asleep within 30 seconds.
Nobody wants to listen to that. Nobody wants to listen to that.
He kept trying to explain it to me and it was an absolute nightmare. I just said, fix it. I don't care. Fix it. I'm turning into my mother. It really worries me. I'll have to have my hair dyed purple next. What I've got left of it. So guys, welcome.
This is a very strange live stream. I apologise. And hello to everyone, because we haven't said that yet.
Should we say hello? Hello, Lawrie, because you've now got half the screen. Hello, everybody else. You've got no screen. It's a pity we can't see you, actually. I did a Zoom call yesterday for 2 hours to a university about what work we do and how it links to vets. And I was talking to a black screen, and it is very strange in this new COVID era to talk to a black screen. It's very strange indeed. But there we are. So we're here. We can't see you. You can see us. We've got the questions running down there. So if my eyes do that, it's because I'm looking at what's going on the questions. But Lawrie keeps me very much abreast of that situation. And Abby is there next to... Abby's turned her desk around. I think because she doesn't like me, Abby has now turned her desk away from where it was, so she faces the window. She's in the dark. She's nearly dark, Abby. But she now faces the window and Lawrie faces me. So this is this insanity of this place. I mean, one of the questions yesterday from one of the uni people was, you know, what qualifications do you need to work at Wildlife Aid? And insanity is very important. You can be a little bit eccentric. I'm probably a bit more than that. But insanity is absolutely vital to work with wildlife. And to work with Lawrie.
That's true. But we often say you don't have to be mad to work here because we will teach you.
No,
that's very, very true.
The expression is, if you want to get it correct, Lawrie, because you got it wrong yesterday, is you don't have to be mad to work here, but it certainly helps. A quote from young Stephen Fry.
That's the original
quote. That's it, from Stephen Fry himself.
Certainly on our side, and I'm sure Abby can attest, this place will make you mad within about a week and a half. So
Lawrie doesn't stand a chance. Laurie's gone. And one day, when he really upsets me, I'm just going to walk off screen and he's going to have to carry the whole thing. And that'll make me laugh.
It'll be the first one that actually makes sense.
Ooh. Ooh, you word that I can't use on a live stream.
There are people in the comments that are saying we sound like an old married couple. So I'm taking offence to that.
I take more offence. My fence is bigger than Laurie's fence, I'll tell you guys. So welcome. Anyway, here we are. Quite a lot's been going on. Normally in the winter time we get really quiet. December and January we have no patients. February we have just a very few. This year it hasn't stopped at all. In fact, the vet, I'm just looking at my screen over there now, the vet is still here and she reckons she's going to be here till about 8 o'clock. Now we've got a vet. Maru has gone home because her grandmother's not very well, so she's gone home to Spain. So God knows how long she'll be away. By the time she has to quarantine for 15 weeks in a hotel in London that costs her about £1,700 a night, heaven knows when she'll be back. But we've got Sally here. Now Sally is how do I describe this carefully without upsetting her? She's a mature vet, because Sally didn't actually take. But it's true. Sally will admit she didn't take a vet exam till very late. She's in her 40s.
Sally's going to kill you.
But the lovely thing about Sally, she's been here for many years. She's been a volunteer. She was then an auxiliary. So she actually knows the working of Wildlife Aid for so many years. And now she's come back as a vet. So we welcome to Sally coming back as a vet. It's really great to have her back here. And, you know, hopefully she'll help marrow, and we'll go forward. And in orphan season, we'll probably have to have both of them in, because it's going to be that busy this year, I suspect. If we're still in lockdown during orphan season, if it's anything like lockdown last year, our patient intake gets so much higher because so many people are at home, they see things they wouldn't normally see. So we're planning for, or not planning for, we're expecting a very busy year. And it's difficult because, I mean, all charities are suffering. I'm not going to talk too much tonight about money. I am going to have a rant about IDOT later on. But yeah, donations are obviously down, legacies are down, and it's really hard work. But we haven't literally taken breath since the first lockdown. Alice was on lockdown about 3 weeks before it happened, so I reckon she's got the quiet ear of the Prime Minister, because she knew it was going to happen and she had everything in place. So we were ready to rock on. And we've done that, and we've worked through the year. So here we are now, the second year, and we expect it's going to be even busier. In fact, we've heard recently that already there is a very, very newly born badger cub up at another centre up in Gloucestershire. So obviously orphan season has started. How quickly we see it really depends upon how many people are out walking, who sees what, because obviously so many wild animals, the babies, aren't ever seen by anybody, and they just die quietly in the wild. So, you know, if you are out walking, just keep an eye around, just keep an eye open. If it's something you're worried about, just give us a ring. We will come out if we need to check what's going on. And also this time of year, if you see, it's a bit macabre to say this, isn't it? But if you see a dead animal on the side of the road, we need to know whether it is female. That's really important, because if it's a female and it was lactating, there are obviously young out there somewhere, and we will send someone out to have a look round to see if they can see anything. So a lactating female, you just have a little squeeze of the teats. If any milk comes out, you know it's a lactating female. Equally, just as much if it's obviously wounded, and it's a female, we need to be very aware. The teats will be slightly swollen, and we can go to work and do what we have to do, get not only that patient better if we can, but also make sure that the young, if they've been born, aren't in any jeopardy. So rather than get into too deeply into that was a bit deep for first 5 minutes or first 7 minutes of the live stream. What's been going on? So we've got the first patient is the Swan update. It's a
yes.
Swan. Oh, Laurie's going to talk.
No,
Lawrie wants to talk.
You can go
No. I'm not going to say anything now. I'm going to shut up.
No, our Swan's doing really, really well. So for those of you who have been wondering about that Swan, it's one that's been around a lot of the groups, especially local to Reigate and Surrey around here, is doing well. We had a slight issue. The wound on the neck started to break down, unfortunately, and there was a large area of necrotic skin. So we've had to debride that one. It's now slightly larger than it originally was, but it's working well at the moment. The Swan is very active, much better than it was before. The wound is being treated pretty much every day, is doing well, but it's going to be a long process to get that Swan completely fixed and ready to go back to the wild. So it's certainly not something that's going to happen this week, next week, probably even the week after. But we will keep going on that one, and hopefully before too long that wound heals and that Swan can go back. So
I don't know whether you've got a picture of this, Lawrie, but basically with a wound like that, there are two options. The first option is to try to stitch the wound together as much as you can, but that just lays you open for infection forming under the wound. So the other option is to have it healed by what we call second intention. Yeah. So that is leaving it wide open. Have you got a picture of the wound, Lawrie, or not? Doesn't matter.
Not of the wound, but if you look on the neck of the Swan, that's actually the hydrocolloid bandage that's on there.
Laurie's not going to show the wound because we'll probably get shut down by YouTube for showing horrible pictures. But the wounds were quite big. It was literally about, the wound was probably about that big, so it's quite large. But that now needs to heal by second intention. We put dressings on top of it, we put special cream into the wound, but that takes a long time. It happens on badger rump wounds as well. They fight, badgers fight, this time particularly, and they bite each other on the bottom, which is very unsporting of them. And some of their wounds can be literally that big. I mean, they can be, I've got to move my hands the right way now. They can be that big, so they take ages and ages to heal. But it does happen. You just have to have patience, keep up with the antibiotics, keep up with everything you need, keep the wound clean, and it will go back. So we are got our fingers tight crossed. This Swan will eventually be able to go back to the wild.
Yeah. On that note as well, with the badger with the territorial fighting wounds, we have one. So this is a female. She arrived with us a few days ago, has wounds on her rump, on her chin, on her ear and one on the shoulder, I believe, as well, which are very consistent with bite wounds, trying to escape and things like that. We are getting into the badger breeding season at the moment. There is a lot of territorial issues. Usually it's between males, but occasionally it can be between males and females as well. And we do see a lot of those. Those wounds can be, as Simon was saying, they can be huge. And for some of those, whilst you try and leave as much as you possibly can, some needs to be closed with what's called a purse string closure. So effectively, around the wound, you put little loops around, you put a thread right the way through, and you gradually, over the course of days to weeks, pull that thread tighter, and it pulls the skin back in. And it just helps a wound that has a massive area of skin to heal appropriately. I think I've gone through that right. You'll probably tell me that's completely
No,
wrong.
I just had a bright idea actually. Lawrie is so into being a vet, I reckon he should take 5 years off, become a vet. That would give me 5 years without him, which would be great. By the time he comes back, I should be very nearly dead, so he can take over from me. Sold. Absolutely sold.
So
there we are.
asking what caused the wound with the Swan. It looks like a bite injury. So looking at the spacing of the wound and all of that, it will be teeth of some sort. We're not 100% sure exactly what it was between fox or dog or anything like that. It would be likely, considering a couple of the other reports that happened around the time of dogs in the water. That wouldn't be the first time that's happened, but we don't know for sure. We're not going to say one way or the other on that, because I know people get very particular about blaming one of the other of those. But yeah, it's a bite injury.
Somebody just said I can't live without Lawrie. Sorry guys, sorry.
Is that my other half?
Where'd you get that from? No, it's not. No, Alana said I can live without Lawrie. So that was Alana saying
go
that.
Away.
But there we are. So no, it's yeah, it was either a dog or a fox, but it's obviously a bite wound. It's obviously from an animal which is dog or fox size, and it looks pretty nasty because there's lots of little teeth marks, and that obviously opens up. The whole wound gets infected, which is why it ended up being about sort of probably that big. So yeah, it's time. It's time and patience, which is what we've got loads of, although going into orphan season imminently, literally probably within days, but certainly within a few weeks, we're going to be manic again. So keep your donations coming in. We need you, we love you, and it's because of you and because of all our volunteers that we're able to keep on going. It's such a massive ship this now, you know, you think it's a little charity, but if you said you had a staff of 375 on your payroll, you know, you think, oh, it's enormous. You know, we've got 375 volunteers. Luckily, we don't have to have a payroll for them, thank heavens for that, or I would have even less there than I've got now. But their devotion has just been amazing. And in fact, over the last few weeks, because we've got quite a few volunteers away because they're having to shield or they're elderly and they're waiting for vaccinations, whatever, we've had a lot of rescues. Sadly, the RSPCA now aren't doing anything between 10 o'clock at night and I think either 8 or 9 in the morning. So all the wildlife centres, not only us obviously because we're only in this area, but all the wildlife centres in the UK are having to pick up that slack. And it's a big bit of slack for us. I mean, Laura and I were out the night before last at midnight, just gone midnight, and so they're picking up that slack. So, you know, basically we need all the help we can get. There's a man just coming and giving us €100. I can't imagine who that might be, Lawrie. Welcome, young man. Welcome back. We still got to get you to make a computer game. We'll talk about computer games a little bit later on. But yeah, so everything's going on. Sven is there. Sven is in the chat. He'll probably say something nasty about me now because he's like that.
Oh, Sven is lovely. Sven is always lovely. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, FXP1688 is a regular in the live streams, always is incredibly supportive. We're lucky enough that before all the COVID thing happened, he was able to come down here. We've met him, we've given him a tour of the centre. He's been incredibly supportive. Every single one of these live streams he gives us at least €100. It is absolutely incredible, and I still stick by saying that Sven is probably more famous on these than we are. So huge thank you to you, Sven. But for your first patient, I joined Patreon and watched your brilliant videos. Thanks a lot. Centre has been extended quite a lot during my absence. So thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, over on Patreon we do have a couple of sort of minor videos, just sort of little exclusive looks. We've got a centre tour and a couple of things like that over there. So if you are interested, head over to our Patreon. Abby's going to stick a link down in the comments. I apologise, I've probably just thrown that on her. If we can get that one on there. If you want to join, I believe it starts at about £3 to get on there. We will be trying to do a centre tour on the main channel at some point, but for the time being, if you want to see me walking around the centre to some very cheesy music, if you head over to Patreon, you can see that one there. And I apologise in advance.
The music is just appalling. He sounds like some very archaic TV presenter on some really small channel where they just couldn't afford to get the right music. And there's Lawrie being such a lovey, you have no idea. He's so
one step away from.
No, I'm not going to let you talk. Don't talk on top of me. Don't talk on top of me. He was so animated, so excited about the whole thing. I think he thought his audience was about 4. But there we are. No, he did a great centre tour.
Some of us have to be excited.
He did a great centre tour, and everything's going well from that. What else we got, Lawrie? I was going to say something else which I've forgotten now. So you're going to talk about a fox, the impaled fox.
Yes. So in terms of main rescues, a lot of people have been asking recently why a lot of the videos that have been going out have been older rescues at the moment, and we are still doing rescues and everything like that. But as we've said before, we like to bring you complete stories. And most of the rescues that we've been out to recently are still here. They're still in for longer term rehab. So as well as the Swan, where a video of the whole journey of that Swan will be coming when that does head back out to the wild, we had a fox in a fence. And we get these calls quite a lot. Usually you can just walk out and the fox is wedged by the hip area or just behind the front legs. And if you get one person each side, you can sort of pick them up, take them back out. As long as there's no constriction injuries, they're usually okay and can head back. Unfortunately for this guy, that wasn't the case. So this is the predicament we found her in, actually. And whilst it looks quite an easy one to remove, unfortunately, the panel on the right side of that image had 2 rather large and rather rusty nails sticking out of that. And they had caused quite a nasty wound to sort of her abdomen groin area. That has actually been treated. She insists on tearing open every single covering we place on that one, so that's constantly being replaced. And unfortunately she got her tail jammed just below and had degloved the tip of it. So it's only about that much or so that's missing, and foxes can actually survive without a tail. They use it for balance, and females especially use it to signal to the cubs. But we've just amputated those last couple of vertebrae. It's only a small amount. You'll barely notice when it's back out, but it's currently on treatment here, healing up. It might be on our webcams. If not, we'll try and get it on. And then hopefully it can go back out to the wild within the next 2 weeks, probably, I'd say.
Probably. But Lawrie didn't say quite the whole story there, because yes, the base of the tail had come off. It was degloved, so the bone was still at the tail, but all the fur on it. Now, the fox's tail, if you look at that picture which Lawrie showed, the fox's tail was behind her, and yet in the garden which we were, which is obviously in front of the fox, the tail was on the ground. So how that tail got degloved, how it turned out to be in front of them rather behind her, is a mystery that we'll possibly never solve. The poor lady who was in the garden trying to get us a fox, she was so scared at the little bit of tail lying on the grass, and I was a bit unkind to her because I waved it around a bit and she didn't like that at all. But yeah, it's really odd that tail went from behind the fox, because he couldn't have bitten it because it was stuck through the fence, to being in the garden in front of us. Very strange. A mystery which will probably never be unravelled, rather like the mystery of Lawrie's haircut.
What mystery is this? I apologise to everyone watching this that is listening to Simon and realising that he doesn't make sense, ever.
I never have, Lawrie. Why change the habit of a lifetime? I've never made sense. I never know. When I give talks, you've probably heard this a million times, when I stand up to talk, I've no idea what I'm going to say. And when I sit down, I have absolutely no idea what I said. So that's just part of the game. Par for the course. Have me over to your country for a talk, and you'll find out for yourselves.
You'll get this. I apologise in advance if you do that.
Oh, there we are.
Few people are asking about finding foxes with either lame back legs or a limping. Should they be worried about them? So for a lot of the the cases that we get, foxes can be quite, they're not the hardest of creatures, should we say. They a tiny cut on their pad or anything like that, and they'll be limping around on it. They'll keep it off the ground. With those, it's worth keeping an eye on it. Keep an eye over the course of about a week or so. If it starts to get better, then that's absolutely fine. You don't need to worry about the stress of capture or anything like that. If it starts to get worse, or the animal's looking weaker or anything like that, that's the point you want to contact a local rescue centre or the RSPCA, the Scottish RSPCA, whatever the facilities are where you live, and just report it to them. Because often just limping foxes are absolutely fine. They're just quite bad at hiding pain.
Don't report it to the RSPCA at night, because they won't answer. That's just a tiny little dig there, because I think it's quite sad that a big organisation like the RSPCA don't now go out at night at all. It's sad. I know they have problems. I know we all have funding problems, but probably the smaller charities have bigger funding problems than the big ones. I don't know. But yeah, it's a pity. We're there. We will do it, as will all the other centres. We only do it obviously for this area. We're not trying to say we can encompass everything, but we do our little bit, as do all the wildlife centres out there. So what else we had, Lawrie? We've had a cormorant, haven't we?
We have. So this actually is something that came into us over the past couple of days. It is absolutely beautiful. I love cormorants anyway, and that sort of bird, but this one is especially pretty. Lovely sort of white feathers on the top of the head. That isn't leucism on that one. That's a variety of breeding plumage, apparently. But unfortunately, this cormorant was transferred to us from a veterinary practice that they had admitted her after she was grounded. And we've done an x-ray, and unfortunately, as you see from those little red circles, she has been shot with a shotgun. So unfortunately, that is illegal, completely illegal. And luckily, lead pellets are banned here in the UK. That doesn't mean that it's not lead.
Lawrie, I've got to question that, Lawrie, for a minute. I'm not sure they're banned on shotguns. They're banned on fishing tackle. I'm not sure the total, but I think you might need to look
I think it's over certain areas. If it's in a controlled area, in a controlled space, you might be able to get away with it. Don't quote me on that. But
now
we
you're standing
looked
back
into
a bit,
this
Lawrie,
at one
now.
point.
No, lead pellets have always been bad. I mean, lead shot in fishing tackle is very bad, and they've now banned that. They are trying to get people to buy steel pellets in shotguns now, but it obviously makes it much more expensive. I'm not sure whether they are banned. I don't think they are. I think they were just trying to encourage people to use steel shot. But I dare say by the time we come back in 2 weeks' time, Lawrie will know every single aspect of the law and will have great pleasure in proving me wrong.
Well, so just looking at the comments, Wildlife Rescuer says yes, they are banned.
He's wrong too.
So I'm not 100% sure. I would do some research into that. I thought they were from research we've done in the past, but
I know you can still buy them. I know for a fact you can still buy them. So.
And we still see it. We had a buzzard in about 6 months ago, something like that was shot with lead pellets and had lead toxicity. And lead poisoning is a pain to get rid of. It takes a lot of work. And a lot of treatment, and the animal can be very, very ill for a very long time with that one.
Sadly, particularly with cormorants, they are very hated by the fishing fraternity, because obviously the fishermen want to catch the fish, but so do the cormorants, because the cormorants need to eat. It's always the minority that spoils it for the majority, so I'm sure most fishermen don't go running around shooting things before anybody questions me. It's going to be a few people who probably go out and shoot them, and it's quite sad, you know. All British wildlife is under huge threat, some more than others, but you know, with over 50% now in dire trouble, we really don't want to be shooting our wildlife. It's not the right thing to do, guys.
Just had a question from Izzy. Is it normal / okay to see foxes around at midday? So certainly at the moment, yes. We're just coming to the tail end of the fox mating season at the moment, so they will be a lot more active. And the females who have mated will then be searching out, digging dens. They tend to dig 2 or 3, just in case one is disturbed. They can move the cubs very easily to another one. So you will see a lot more activity in both foxes and badgers at this time of year. So, and unless the fox looks particularly ill or emaciated or injured or not coping particularly well, I wouldn't worry about it at all. If it's perfectly fine, just monitor it, just watch out the window, and unless it starts to develop any signs or symptoms that we should be worried about, just leave it be, I think, on that one.
Absolutely, and the other thing you're going to see soon, guys, not too far away, I think from any time from now on actually, if you see something, you know, a little baby on the lawn that's got it's a chocolate colour, a real dark chocolate colour when they're first born, and it'll have probably a tiny little white tip on its tail, that is not a kitten, it's not a dog or a puppy, it's going to be a baby fox. Now sometimes, you know, mum's running from A to B, she's not quite with it, she has the cub at the wrong time, drops it down. Normally if you just give it a little while, they'll go back and get it. They sometimes forget, or they can't go back, or they've been scared off. So, you know, monitor that fox cub. If it's in trouble, if it's looking weak, if it's pouring with rain, if it's looking bedraggled, then obviously first give a centre ring. Don't just rush it into the centre, give the centre ring. Often where we can, we ask them to pick it up in a pair of gloves, we ask them to put it in a box with a hot water bottle under a towel in the box, and mum will often come back to it. We have a series of webcams, a series of trial cams that we use, and if we get in a situation like that, we put a trail camera out so we can see what's going on, and often mum will come back for it. But obviously this time of year, look out for babies or look out for injured mums, because it's really, really important.
Yeah. And be careful as well, if you see them, a lot of people can confuse them with puppies. And take them into domestic vets. Pretty much every year that I can remember, the first fox cub we've had of the year has been from a domestic veterinary practice. And people think they're Labrador puppies and things like that. The best way to tell is if you look at the fox cub, if you look at the end of the tail, most of them will have a white tip on the end of the tail. So puppies, very occasionally they'll have that, but most of the time they don't. That's usually the way you can tell it's a fox rather than a dog on that one. But we're expecting those very, very soon.
I had said that already. I talked about the white tip on tail.
I was looking for photos.
Now he's got half the screen. He just needs half the people. He needs to be able to talking half the time. He's going to be uncontrollable. As he gets older and I get weaker, he's going to start to bully me and abuse me. And then he'll get exactly, see, 3/4 of it. Oh, I've gone. Okay, I've gone. That's it, Lawrie. You're on your own.
You see, you fail to remember that I have the control of the screen and how all the visuals stack up. We're not doing much good to the little thing that we're an old married couple, really, aren't we?
No, we're not. We're not helping it at all. Talk us through the red ring next. Oh, go on. Go on. You go then. No, say what you're going to say.
People are asking, what's the treatment for lead poisoning? So it really depends, really. The main thing I believe, and I'm not a vet, so please don't quote me on this if I miss anything.
I'm going to stop you there a little bit, Lawrie, quick. So treatment for lead poisoning should be administered by a vet. Don't try and do it at home. Don't try and do anything at home. Vets know how severe it is. They can do all sorts of blood tests. Please don't try treating a fox or any animal which you think might have lead poisoning yourself. Take it into your local vets, or if it's a wild animal, please take it to your local wildlife centre.
Yeah,
just
it requires certain drugs and certain treatments that can only be administered by a vet. Because the first thing we do is immediately hook it up to an IV drip.
Now,
so it has to have fluid therapy first.
Everybody might have missed that. There's a comment just went up there. Long live the king is dead, and then it was taken down again. Somebody's got something against me, Lawrie. That comment has gone. You see, look, he's wiping his little hand. Lawrie, you can earn as little as I do if you want to.
God.
So, red ring.
Tell
us about the red ring.
So that's something. We've got 2 of them in at the moment. So red wings are a patient that we don't see that much of here. They are a migratory species, so they tend to all come in at one point during the year. And we have 2 in at the moment. So the first one was found grounded after crashing into a window, I believe. That one is doing well at the moment. That's currently out in one of our aviaries. And the other one arrived with us today after being found on the ground. That one is a little bit more worse for wear. So has several puncture wounds on the back and has a tear in the sort of internal eyelid that's unfortunately caused a lot of blood to sort of fill the eye space.
The nictitating membrane, Lawrie.
Yes.
Nictitating membrane.
Well, it's actually within the eye itself.
Oh, okay.
At the moment, rather than the membrane. But we're currently talking to a very, 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 very good ophthalmic specialist who will be talking us through the absolute best way of going through that and helping that bird out. So it's still very, very early days on the treatment of that. That's only arrived in today, and that one will grow and develop over the course of the next few days, I think.
I mean, Wildlife Aid is so lucky, really. You know, we're reasonably good at what we do, hopefully, after 40 years. We damn well should be. but we do have the most amazing access to the best vets in the country for wildlife medicine. So we have an ophthalmic specialist, an orthopedic specialist, a lot of wildlife vets who are very specialised in what they do. So we do talk. I mean, if we think or in doubt of anything we're going to do or want to question something, we ring them up. Equally, they will ring us on a rescue if they don't know how to get something out or how best to rescue something. That was quite a lot of my course yesterday. Everybody saying, you know, the fire brigade go in and cut fences to let deer out and whatever. We've got much simpler methods and much quicker methods of getting some of these animals out of severe situations. So if anybody is listening from the fire brigade, if you want to chat to us about how we do some of these things, please get in touch, because we want to share our knowledge. We want everybody to know about it, because then Lawrie and I don't have to go out so much. We can get a night off.
We've had a question from Rowan. Hi Wildlife Aid. At my local river there is a swan with a long piece of rope stuck down its throat. I phoned many different wildlife rescues, but they wouldn't come out. What should I do?
He's based in Cheshire.
I'd like to see a picture of it, guys. Really like to see a picture of that.
He's based in Cheshire, Simon.
Cheshire's not for us, but send me the picture anyway, because we will make a few phone calls, and if it is as bad as you say it is, obviously that needs doing, because it's going to infect its whole digestion tract. It's probably going to cause ulcers. It's probably going to cause sores. So it does need to be caught up. If the person who mentioned that to us is quite brave, and he can get hold of the bird, we'll even give us a ring and we'll talk you through how you could possibly do something to help it if nobody else will. But we're there for advice. We can only really travel within an hour or so from here normally, but we are always happy to advise. We're always happy to help, and if you want to join and become one of our remote rescuers in Cheshire or wherever, we would love you to come on board. The whole thing is sharing our knowledge and sharing our passion for what we do.
So if you can, Rowan, if you can send us that picture, just send it to media, MEDIA, at wildlifeaid.org.uk. We'll have a look at that and we'll see what we can do. If you haven't already, if you go on to helpwildlife.co.uk, you can put in your postcode and it will give you a list of all of your local wildlife-friendly rescue centres. So if there's any of those that you haven't tried that might be able to help as well, or the alternative is the RSPCA. I know the RSPCA do get a bit of a bad reputation when it comes to wildlife in certain areas, but we work very closely with the RSPCA. We know a lot of the animal rescue officers very, very well. They are very, very capable, so please don't immediately write them off on that one. I know there are a few bad situations that people have had from the RSPCA, but the guys we work with would move heaven and earth to help an animal. So if you can't get through to a local wildlife rescue, do try them, because they will try and help if they can as well.
Good words, Lawrie. Good words there. Yeah, the RSPCA do an awful lot of good. They have had really bad press, bad reputation over the years. It's not for me to go into it politically now, but on the ground level, the inspectors and the animal collection officers, which have now called something else now, they've changed all the names of them. But
animal rescue officer,
animal
AROs
rescue officer now, yeah. They're superb. I mean, we work closely with them. We were out on a rescue with one of them the other day. We speak to each other regularly. I tend to ring them up when I'm feeling really angry and I want to abuse somebody. I normally ring up one particular inspector because he's always a bit of a laugh. And then he tells us off when we break a bit of kit when we go out to help him with the rescue. So it's tit for tat, really. It works quite well.
Yeah. But
right, your last patient is a pigeon wing X-fix, which I know nothing about. So Lawrie, you have centre stage.
So this is a feral pigeon that had quite a bad day. It flew into a window and then as it landed was attacked by a dog. So unfortunately it was left with quite a nasty fracture to the right humerus, which is the top bone on the wing. But luckily it's right in the middle of the shaft. So with bones, you've got to be careful about where the location of the break is. So if it's too close to the joint, even if you do try and pin it, it can fuse the joint and then the wing doesn't work or anything like that. But luckily this one is right in the middle of the shaft. And Maru, just before she left, who is a trained orthopedic vet, put a pin right through the middle of the bone to hold the fragments together, and then drilled in a frame with 2 pins on either side just to realign those bones and make sure everything is held and can't rotate. I'll try and find a photo of that one in a minute, but unfortunately I can't multitask particularly well. So this is the pigeon in itself. You can see the external fixator if you look on the wing on the left image. So that black stuff is just a little sort of plastic putty that's on there. It stops the bird damaging itself and any of the exposed wires. But it's an operation that it didn't take too long. And hopefully over the course of, I believe it's 3 weeks, we tend to give animals when it comes to broken bones and external fixators. And at that point we'll re-x-ray. If there's a nice callus there, all those pins will be removed and all that will be left is a nice healed bone, and that pigeon can head back out to the wild. So that one is currently going on. The operation was only done a couple of days ago, so it's still very, very fresh, but signs are good so far. The pigeon's reacting well. And we'll keep you updated on that one, because probably for the next live stream we might have more of an update.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important to do an X-fix. Everybody says, well, if you put a pin down the middle of the bone, that's absolutely fine, isn't it? But it doesn't stop the pin doing that. So it's really important to locate not only the pin in the right place, but then to make sure that the bones can't rotate. So that's why we put an X-fix on it. And as Lawrie says, all the pins come out. And the animal should be, actually that joint will be stronger than it was before, because it will form a great big callus around the bone, and that bit of the bone will be probably twice as strong as the rest of the bone, to be honest. So it works quite well. So, you know, we're not species specific here. We don't care if it's a pigeon or a kite or whatever. We will, if we can get any animal back to the wild, we will do that. What we don't want is animals in captivity. We want a wild animal to be in the wild where it belongs. I've been trying to get Lawrie to leave us for ages, but he doesn't go. And if he did go, I kill him. Simple as that, really. That would be it.
I've been trying.
You're very trying.
That is true. I won't deny that for a second. Preston has asked, have we ever had a lesser spotted woodpecker? So there are 3 species of woodpecker that we get in the UK. There are the green woodpeckers, the greater spotted woodpeckers, and the lesser spotted woodpecker. Greens and great spots we see all the time, both young ones and adults. We see those a lot. Lesser spotted are much, much rarer. They're a much smaller bird. We have seen them here. I've seen very, very few since I've been here. But we do get them in, but it's by far and away the most popular are the greater spotted woodpecker and then the green spotted woodpecker. The green woodpecker, sorry.
It was a few years ago, actually, probably before Lawrie was born. I'm so old now.
I'm 28.
I know, but it's probably before you were born. But we had a real dearth of green woodpeckers in Surrey. We just didn't see them for about 3 or 4 years, and suddenly they started to come back in. They've got this really interesting flight pattern. They fly and they dip, and they fly and they dip, and they're fascinating flight pattern, really. But they're back in Surrey now. It's like anything, it's a bit cyclical, it goes in circles. If something gets too few of them, nature is very clever at working out that it needs more of them, and everything balances. Nature's clever. It's only one species that's invasive on this planet nowadays, and that's us.
Wow, yeah. James has asked, is it illegal to own a pet fox in the UK? No, it's not. There are some very sort of dodgy guidelines and laws and everything around it. We would definitely not recommend it at all. Technically, no, it is not. They're not a species that is classed as an exotic animal in the same way that owning a lion or a tiger or anything like that would be. For that, you would need a zoological license. As far as I'm aware, they're thinking about changing the laws on this to make it more difficult, but at the moment, no, it is not. But we would definitely not recommend. Certainly not taking a wild fox and trying to domestic.
Lawrie, that's not strong enough. Don't do it, guys. There's no recommend there. It is don't. A wild animal belongs in the wild. It needs to follow its instincts. Yeah. Do not do it. And if you hear anyone who is, just make it known that you're not very happy about it, and hopefully people will stop trying to do that, because it is insanity. Yeah. Please don't try to domesticate a wild animal. Yeah,
we have a fox in at the moment that even just in the few days that she's been here is noticeably stressed. And we try and keep every stress to a minimum. Every pen is monitored by CCTV. We minimise the human contact. There's enrichment in there. The pens are large. There's food placed in. Everything is there. But the truth of the matter is they don't like being held captive. They know it's alien and it's wrong for them. And you get them jumping up the walls, potentially injuring themselves on anything that just is led there. And to be honest, foxes, they're wild animals. They're not a domestic species. They will dig up things and rip up things and urinate on things and all of that lot. And we've had a few cases over the years of people that have tried to bring them into the house and then suddenly decide that that's not for them. So Yeah,
But then they've done the damage. By then they've done the damage. Once you get them in, you humanise them, you habituate them, whatever you want to say. It does the damage. Just don't do it. And if you ever see anybody, in fact, I was looking at Twitter, I think this morning, where somebody grabbed hold of a goose and swung it round and swung it round. It went into a wildlife centre in Essex, another centre we work closely with. But sadly, it died of its injuries. I mean, if you ever see that, in a way, unless you're a real big burly guy like Lawrie, don't try to interfere, but get it on video, because the police, if they get video like that, have to take some action. Or the RSPCA, but somebody will take some action against those people. It is just insane. We are so abusive, not only to our planet, but to our animals within that planet, that we need to change our whole mindset. I mean, COVID hopefully will begin to do that. People have been in their garden more. They're getting more in touch with nature because they're seeing things that they normally didn't see because they're in the office. So let's hope something good will come out of this awful COVID pandemic which we're in at the moment.
Yeah. Wildlife rescues just, but every year we get at least one that's been hand reared and has become imprinted. As much as it's wonderful that they care, it's not always reversible, and they need so much stimulation. That is very, very true. Over the years, we've had so many foxes that people have had as cubs, tried to do themselves, haven't been able to limit that human contact that is absolutely vital at those young ages, and the fox ends up imprinting. And it's, whilst you can remove it on a lot of the times, occasionally you can't. And with that animal, you can't have a wild animal that is not able to be a wild animal. They have to be able to fend for themselves, to cope, and they have to have a fear of humans. Like, yeah, in an ideal world, I would absolutely love it if humans and animals could coexist in complete perfect harmony. But the sad thing is that's not always the case. And whilst you might like the fox that wanders into the kitchen and things like that, your neighbour doesn't. If you move out, the person that moves into that house won't as well. And we had an instance several years ago where someone actually put a garden fork through a fox that was coming up to the door and was too tame. Nothing wrong with the fox. The fox was just used to being friendly, and unfortunately people take this the wrong way and it always ends badly. So
this is
please,
actually
please don't do
the
that.
danger. This has turned into the Lawrie Brayley show. I've worked out Laurie's had 3 times more than I have so far. If you do feed your wildlife in the garden, if it's important to because it's weak or something for some reason for a very short time, sort of all right. But don't feed them regularly, because what happens is, and we've seen it so many times, I've seen it loads of times over 40 years, is somebody will feed the foxes, they'll love them, they'll come up, they'll get used to food, they then move or die or something, somebody else moves into that house, they hate foxes, foxes come up to them because obviously they're used to people giving them food, and they kill them or do something really nasty to them. So it's why it doesn't pay. And also, if you keep feeding your foxes over generation after generation, they will actually lose the instinct of hunting. It's all inbuilt, you know, when they're born, when they know how to hunt. But if you go through enough generations of this, they won't hunt. So please don't feed your foxes every day. Very occasionally, sometimes, or whatever, or if they're ill, I can understand that. But otherwise, it's not, you know, you think it's nice because you see them up close. It's not doing that species any good at all. So please, guys, try to pass the message along as we go forward.
Yeah, and it does sound harsh, and we're not saying that you don't care or anything like that. It's just please think about the fox. It's not about you loving the fox and them having any sort of trust with you. It's anyone else they go up to. Unfortunately, we as a species cannot be trusted. So just do the best for the fox and avoid that one.
Of all the species that can't be trusted,
I'm trying to point
the right way. I'm trying to point to you. Yeah, that's one. That's the one. Never trust that man.
No one trusts me.
So, you know, we're in a cold spell. Apparently, I've just looked at my forecast and it's something between -9 and -11 here tonight. So watch out for your wildlife. Do try to give some water. Give some water at ground level for the mammals, and obviously at a high level for the birds, so near the twain shall meet, because if you get a hungry mammal and a thirsty bird, something terrible can happen. So yeah, try to put some water out, put food out if you need to, if the ground's very, very hard. We've had a mild winter really overall. I mean, it is going to be very cold tonight. I shall probably go into hibernation tonight. Lawrie will try to wake me tomorrow morning and nothing will happen, because at -11 I don't go out.
Any rescue from here on, you'll see him in his big Arctic coat that's designed for doing things like summiting Everest or other everyday activities.
Rescues from now on tonight will be, Lawrie, you around? Lawrie, I can't go out tonight, Lawrie. It's all yours, thank you. So that's how it'll be. No, it's it's going to be cold tonight. We've got a few more cold days at least. So just think of the wildlife, think of the food, think of the water. Just try to help them and keep an eye open. If you do see animals out, especially hedgehogs this time of year that are wandering around looking a little bit wobbly, and certainly if they weigh under 600 grams, they need some help, guys. We're getting a lot of donations. I'm just seeing in the corner of my right eye here. So very generous.
I need to go through several of those. So thank you all so much for your generosity. Over the course of this live stream, there's actually been more than £200 worth of funding come in. So as we say in every single one of these, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but we are not government funded. We don't get any funding from anyone else. We're entirely run on public donations. So it's only your generosity that means we can continue to do what we do. We run on 370 plus volunteers. We only have 5 members of staff, but we deal with over 20,000 incidents a year. So it is absolutely vital that we can fund that somehow, because even driving out to rescue something costs £40 in fuel and things like that, and it does all add up. So huge thank you to everyone who has. Anthony has donated £4.99 and has put, this week's donation is an appearance fee for Abby. So thank you, Abby, for getting us the appearance fee on that one.
I don't think that's a strong enough appearance fee. She's actually got to show her face to the camera just for a second.
She is going to kill me.
Well, let it kill you. I don't care. I don't care anymore, Lawrie. I don't care. A little smile from Abby always goes a long way.
You can have a really dark way.
You can't see her.
I'm laughing in the dark.
Yeah, she's hiding.
That's the
hiding in the dark. So what else have we going? So yeah, recently we put out a Just Giving campaign because our washing machine broke. They're commercial washing machines, so they're heinously expensive. They're £1,800, and that was a sort of below trade from somebody who helps us a lot. But we raised it in about a week, I think, just over. So thank you so much for that. These, you look at these things and think, oh, should I give? It saves us having to use our reserves to buy a washing machine. The more we can keep our reserves intact, allows us not only to do the work we do now, but it allows us, hopefully, in the end, to build the new centre. So the new centre is the big thing. The work started. We're going to start to put up a little bit of a diary about that soon. I did mean to speak to Lawrie this morning, saying we need to go and take some pictures of the driveway, because they've dug up all the driveway. We need to do that tomorrow, Lawrie, if the weather's quite nice.
Okay.
Because we've got a trustees meeting coming up. Terrified of those. Trustees really scare me. They put me through the ringer, left, right and backwards. So I think it's about time Lawrie took over from me, and then I can sit and laugh. So that's going on. We are building the wetlands. The wetlands will happen this year. The whole project is £6.5 million worth, which is terrifying and probably terrifies you as well. But it would just take one high net worth individual, one corporate who is interested, even if they only took a little bit of the centre and named it after themselves. We are desperate to get some sponsorship at that centre. It's going to be amazing. I won't call it what I normally call it because my daughter will kill me. So it is the WildlifeAid Foundation it's the new centre of the WildlifeAid Foundation.
The WildlifeAid Centre.
That's it. That's the one. That's what everybody tells me. So that little cackle from Abby over there. Do you hear that little cackle? It really scares me.
It's only because we correct that with both you and me, I'll be completely honest, probably 70 to 75 times a day.
It started off when we bought the first bit of land. It was 12 acres, so we called it 12 acres. Then we bought another 7 and a bit acres, so it actually ended up at exactly 20 acres because it was 12.3 and 7.7. So it's just stuck in my head, so that's where we're working. But the guys are working well. They've dug all the huge, massive trenches to put all the wires in and the pipes in and the water pipes in. That's gone right down the side. It's about a 200-metre run from the road to the field where it's got to get to. We've strengthened the bridge where we go across. So yeah, work is proceeding. That's part of the work is going to cost us just shy of £1 million, and that we have fundraised for. We have that in the bank ready to go. But the other £6.5 million, because it was actually nearly 10 million when we started, but I'm mean, so we're not going to do everything we're going to do. That still needs to be raised. So any corporates, any high net worth individuals please just give us a ring, tell us who to speak to. Just give me 5 minutes with them. If they don't want to do it, I understand. But at least if we can get an approach to them and get them to help us with it, it's rather like IDOT. IDOT is a thing which I dreamt up years ago. It's been in about 18,000 incarnations. Abby has been tearing her hair out, and she had an awful lot of hair. She's still got quite a lot of hair, but we kept changing it and moving it, and then COVID came in, so we had to change it again. It is about to hit the streets. IDOT is a very simple process, and I'm going to try to do this very quickly because Lawrie falls asleep if I do it too long. Everybody is telling us now, all the massive TV presenters, all the environmentalists, that we have done an amazing amount of damage to this planet. And you know, it's up to us to mend it. But what nobody's telling us is how we can mend it. Because if you look at it saying, well, I can't do anything about that, you know, it's a massive damage. There's nothing I can do to help. But actually, if we all did just one thing a day, turned off a tap, picked up a can, picked up a rubber band, put a special shrub in for wildlife, anything. There are loads of actions you could do. It can cost you no money, it can take you very little time, but if we all did one thing a day, in the UK alone, that would be over 24 billion actions. Now, nobody can tell me that 24 billion actions isn't going to make a difference, but we want this to really bite. So if you spread the word about it, if you get friends to do it, if you get your school people to do it, if you get your corporates who you know, anybody who works for a corporate, get them to pick up the idea of IDOT, it will start to grow, because I think it could be enormous. I don't think I'll ever be as wealthy as Jeff Bezos, although I'd love to be, because it's not going to make me any money, this, but it's something we feel we need to give back. And in a way, WAF has been doing an IDOT for 40 years. It's been doing its one thing. It's been picking up an animal, making it better, getting back to the wild. And in building the new centre, which is a massive IDOT, if you like, that is, again, is our IDOT to the world, or to the UK, or to Surrey, whatever you want to call it. So if we all join together, hold hands, and do this thing, IDOT could be big, and 24 billion actions a year will make a huge amount of difference. I did work it out for a worldwide IDOT, and nobody, I even rang up Cambridge University, could tell me what that figure equated to. It was so many noughts on it that it ran off the edge of the page. The computer blew up, Lawrie blew up, so we don't know, but it could be massive. So please think about IDOT, go onto our website, which is still under development. We're still changing it a little bit, getting things right, but I want to see that counter which we've got on the side of that thing. We've got a counter which will scream, and the day I see 24 billion number up there, I promise I will probably have a heart attack. So, you know, just get it to 23,999,999,000.99. Otherwise, I'll probably go. So, you know, IDOT's important, guys. Please try and help us with that as well. And if you know anybody, who, you know, is quite high in a corporate entity who we could speak to, I just want to speak to. I just want to chat to them. If we can get that corporate supporting IDOT, and getting their clients to support IDOT, it can spread, and it's not, this is going to cost them loads of money. Don't let them put the phone down, because it's not going to cost them anything. Just please support IDOT. If we can all do our little bit to help the planet, I just think some of, you know, us individuals think we can't do it all alone, but if we all join together, it will make a huge difference. I will shut up about IDOT now. This is, I'm going to let Lawrie talk about this one, because it makes me laugh. Lawrie, what's this about foxes being tied together? I'll let you bluster over this one.
No, it's at this time of year we do get an awful lot of calls about foxes that look tied together or appear to be rump to rump. That is perfectly normal. That is a part
super glued, Lawrie. I got super glued.
Yeah, or tails tied together. We've had a few times. That is a perfectly normal part of the fox mating cycle. It is something that happens in all canines, so dogs, wolves, coyotes, foxes, every single one of them. It's perfectly normal. Leave them alone. They will separate by themselves after about half an hour to an hour or so, and will go about their business. Please don't do what a couple of people have done, which is throw water on them. It scares the animals, and if they bolt both ways, you can only imagine the sort of damage that does. It is perfectly normal. We're getting less of those calls now because we're starting to get to the tail end of the breeding season. But if you do see that, we have still had reports of that up until fairly recently. Please don't worry, it is normal, and hopefully you may see cubs around your area very soon. So, yeah.
However, if Lawrie starts to upset you, do feel free to throw cold water over Lawrie, because it would make me laugh.
Moving on. There's been several questions that have come in over the past couple of minutes, so thank you so much to everyone who has submitted a question on there. So M has put, raisins are toxic to dogs. How about wildlife? Many here put raisins in their bird feeders, and can the spills on the ground poison any wildlife? So raisins are indeed toxic to foxes, and I believe other species as well, but certainly foxes. The general rule of thumb is if it's toxic to a dog, it's toxic to a fox. And that includes chocolate and all of the other things like that as well. If you are going to try and put anything out for any animal, please make it as natural as possible. Seeds are perfectly fine on that one as well. But try and avoid raisins, avoid anything sweet. I know a lot of people say, oh, my fox loves a jam sandwich and a lot. They do have an incredibly sweet tooth, but bear in mind they can't brush their teeth like we can. And we do get foxes in that have been fed too many sweet things and their teeth are basically completely worn out to the point they can't hunt anymore. So
somebody, Lawrie, has just paid $2.99 for me to throw a bucket of water over you. That actually, you know, of all the things I've seen on this chat going up tonight, that's one that will stick in my mind, so we'll probably do it.
Somebody said, jumped in a river for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge a few years ago.
There are, you'll be doing it again soon. Somebody said, I missed the iDot rant, or Simon's iDot rant. If you did, you can always watch this live afterwards. You can click onto it and go back and watch it, just to see the pleasure of me ranting on in my passionate way about iDot, because I believe in it so much. I just would do anything to get it out there. It's really important. So we've got
Preston has just asked, do you focus on education? I ran a test and 7 out of 10 adults could not identify a red kite.
That was actually on one of our videos. That's actually been stated. The news centre particularly will focus even more on education than we do now, because we just haven't got the space here, we haven't got the parking facilities, we haven't got the big teaching showroom. So the news centre, Wildlife Aid will do what it's always done for 40 years, and that is the soul and the beating heart of Wildlife Aid. But I learned from all my years on doing Wildlife SOS all over the world that the problem that wildlife face is pretty much 99% due to man, not only loss of habitat, but damage, things they do, things they get stuck in. So that's why I think education, we've got to inspire. I don't want to educate children, that's probably the wrong word. I want to inspire children to realise why they need everything in place. And it's such a big ask because it is holistic. It's no good saving all the elephants, because if all the other animals below it get extinct, then the elephants won't live, because they need things to eat and they need the fertilisation of all the plants. It's a huge, great cycle, and Lawrie will know that I will say now food chain, food chain, food chain, which is he does that every time I do that, and he disappears. It shuts him up for a minute. But the cure has got to be holistic. We've got to address it all, and it's no good just addressing the iconic species, the ones you love, because they need all the other species below them to live as well. And now I've gone back into my iDot speech again and all this, so I'm going to stop now because we're running out of time for a start, and there's a couple more things we need to talk about. One is Wildlife Aid masks. So we do these masks which we give out for PPE. It's getting to hopefully towards the end of it now. Dear God, I hope it's getting towards the end of it. But we do sell these masks. They've gone very well. Ricky Gervais promoted them a few times, and they've done very well for us as well. So yeah, if you do want anything to do with that, please give us a call. We've got stuff up particularly for Valentine's Day. That's a very scary image. That's a really scary image.
That's Ricky's partner.
Yeah, I know, that's Jane. So yeah, lots going on with that. We have sadly had to suspend volunteer inductions for the time being because of COVID. We're going to try to bring them back as quickly as we can, because we not only desperately need them, because we're going to what I'm sure will be the busiest season ever, but as soon as we can, just keep an eye on the website. As soon as we can bring those back, we will be doing that as well. So yeah, please don't lose. And the other thing I want to say quickly, because Laurie's talked about Patreon a bit before, if we can persuade you, or we can persuade you to tell others to become a Patreon member, it all helps with funding for us. Anything helps, and the more Patreon members we get, the more we will be giving you as a special preview, possibly, or long before it goes out to the rest of the YouTube channel. We want to get you on board. We want you to love what we do, and with your help, and if we get enough money from it, I know it's all down to money, everything's down to money, sadly guys, we will be able to do more for you and do more zany things. We'll get Lawrie running around the garden naked. We'll get me pretending I might, but I won't. And you know, we'll do some zany stuff. Lawrie will do some zany stuff, won't you, Lawrie?
I'm not signing up for anything because I know what you're like. So just going through, again, there's been a whole load of donations coming in, so thank you so much. We've had more than £450 worth of donations, which is absolutely incredible. So thank you so much. I'll try and get through as many of them as we can, and then we will be trying to get through the last couple of questions that we've got in as a sort of quick fire, try and get those answered as much as possible, just so everyone does get an answer. So thank you to W Heron for the €10. Hugs from Austria, hugs from the UK back to you in Austria, obviously socially distanced at the moment. C Anderson, thank you for your £4.99 as well. Simon Croatia, HRK. I'm not 100% sure what that is. I apologise. I would imagine it's some sort of krona. Croatian currency, I am told. Yeah, HRK. Croatian. It's Croatian currency from Abby knew. Thank you very much for 100 of those. I apologise, I don't know the currency. Thank you to Betty H for the $5 as well. That's very, very kind. Thank you, of course, to Sven for his €100 every time. You are absolutely incredible, Sven, as always. Thank you to Leanne Kennedy for the $10 as well. That rabbit, who I know for a fact is Jacob, one of the people that work here that helps with our volunteer, our maintenance side and our rescue side. He's put as Laurie's official boyfriend. I say we keep him for a little longer. You thought I wouldn't know who you were because you've made another account after we banned the first one. I know who you are, Jacob. I'll get you afterwards. Carla has donated £5 from Carla and Rory, age 8. Carla helps us out all the time. Hello to both of you, and thank you for watching yet again. Hope you're all well. Anthony, £2.99 to start the Be Nice to Lawrie support fund. I approve. Thank you very much. Jennifer Hughes, £15. You spoke to my class yesterday at Manchester Metropolitan University. Really good what you guys do. Thank you very, very much for that one. I'm glad you enjoyed his waffling on that one.
I do spread the word on that. Thanks very much for coming back on it. But I mean, we are always here for advice. If you ever need anything, you want to chat, don't be scared of emailing us. You can email media@wildlifeaid.org.uk, and we will get back to you, because the one thing we want to do is spread our knowledge. We want to pass on what we've learnt over the years so that people can take it up. So thanks for listening. Lawrie actually fell asleep when he was listening to it, as did Lee at Stapeley Grange. He fell asleep too. I heard him going but there we are. No, always happy to spread the word, always happy to give our knowledge out to anybody who wants to listen to us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Pushbike Cam, another regular, so hello to you. £5 to put, hello Simon, hello Lawrie. Still have the signed photo and birthday card you sent me. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much and hope you're well. Sarah for £10 for the start of the orphan season. Thanks for all you do. Thank you so much. That's getting very, very soon, that orphan season.
Yeah, could you never know. It could actually start tonight if we're not lucky.
We never know. Occasionally, it would just be quite, bang, and you're into it. Yeah,
it does. It happens
there
just
is
like that.
No ramp or anything. It's just suddenly you're on 80 patients a day. It's mad. The Warren, who's another regular, €25. All the best from the Netherlands. Thank you very much. Michael Johnson, $10. Thank you very much to you. Ptoy, I believe. I'm not sure. It's just updated. Has donated €25. Thank you very much to you as well. Another £5 from Pushbike Cam. Probably asked this before, but are your daughters still involved in rescues? And how did they grow up with a dad that's slightly mad?
Well, they're slightly mad too. You can't get away from it. I mean, it's genetic. If I'm mad, they've got to be mad as well. Lou is Deputy CEO of Wildlife Aid, because everybody thinks I'm going to cark it quite soon, so we had to have a succession plan just in case I fall over like that in the middle of a YouTube. So she's Deputy CEO. She's involved in rescues occasionally, sometimes, whatever. Lawrie and I do most of the dangerous stuff. We're actually just in the middle of recruiting some new rescuers now. And in fact, Lawrie hasn't replied to my email yet. I sent him an email that he had to look at.
It's been a very busy day.
He hasn't. Laurie's been doing nothing today. He's been swanning around, throwing his weight around, making the screen 50-50 instead of 2/3, 1/3, or 75%, 25%.
Bring it back so it's just me again.
No. Well, you can do if you want.
I'll mute you.
I'll just go. I'll go and get myself another drink.
You will, and that's really annoying.
So, guys, you are always amazing. We love you to pieces. I've got two very quick things to say because I see that we're end of our hour. We've had a guy called Kevin who has all these men are really pushed into doing stuff for Wildlife Aid because of their wives. Their wives think I'm lovely. If only they knew the real me. But he has been building an app for us for IDOT. He's done an amazing amount of work on it and whatever, and we're really grateful for him for that, and he's going to do a bit more for us. But if anybody out there knows a games developer, I would love to get more games out there for Wildlife Aid for children, so they can understand, why we shouldn't hurt wildlife, what happens if they walk into the wrong area and get trapped or whatever. There's so much I'd love to do on that, so if you know any games developers, that would be really great. And as I said before, if you know anybody in the corporate world who's reasonably high up that we can just speak to or get an introduction to, I just want to try to persuade corporates to come on board. And if you think about it, charities get money from corporates on their charity sort of budget. To me, IDOT could well come out of a media budget or a PR budget for a big corporate, because if it goes well, which we are convinced it will do, the PR you're going to get from that IDOT campaign, and you being the first funder to come on board and help us get it out there, would be beyond belief. It would even make Jeff Bezos blush.
So, last few donations before we get back on to the questions. Myra, one of our volunteers, has donated £25 yet again. That's very naughty, but thank you very much. Ali TK has donated £55. Thank you very much. And but after your last live Q&A, I sold a load more of my keyrings, and I'm down to my last few. I hope it helped you guys. It really does. Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, Ali TK makes these lovely sort of handmade British wildlife keyrings over on Etsy as well. We'll try and put the link into the chat if we can find that one as well. She's got the last few left. If you want to go over and help those, all the proceeds are donated to us, which is incredibly kind. So thank you very much, and glad they've done well.
I'm just going to say hello, Kylie, while you're doing that, because I've just noticed something flash up on the screen. Said hello, Simon. So hello, Kylie. It's me. I'm here. I'm still alive.
Denny has donated €20. Will the orphaned animals you guys raise be able to survive in the wild if they haven't learned how to from their parents? Yes, they will. That's something we've been working on for the entire 40-year duration of the centre. So we get our animals to learn from each other. It's called Intra-Specific Interactions. So if one fox cub learns how to do something, they then teach it to the others, and the same happens over there. A lot of their core behaviour is instinctual, and we have had reports from animals that we released back in 2014 that are still doing well. So yes, they are able to survive in the wild on that one.
I've got to say hello to Anthony, because Anthony and I have been having, and so is Lawrie. I think Lawrie, with us or not, has been having email correspondence with him. You're a great guy. Thanks, Anthony, for all you do for wildlife. Thanks for the extra $1.99. I will just throw a cup of water over for Lawrie for that one, but there we are. Right, we're getting near the end. I'm going to make you cut off soon. You know you get upset with me about this, but we've got.
Yes.
You can have 4 minutes. That's all you've got, and I'm timing it now.
Yes. So just the last couple of thank yous as well. Azza for the £5 as well. Anthony as well, who constantly donated many things, and of course to Roisin, who's donated €100, which is massive. Thank you very much. And she's written, "Hi Lawrie and Simon, hope you're well. Thanks again for all of your amazing work. Sorry my name is hard to pronounce. It's pronounced Roisin. Lots of love and God bless. I actually had a friend at school called Roisin, so I knew that one. I'm the one that mucks up names. So last couple of questions in the past couple, so we'll try and go as quick as we possibly can. So, Simon, if I wanted to rescue animals for the RSPCA or for a charity like WildlifeAid, would I need some sort of degree or training?
None at all. Ignorance is bliss, I always say. Lawrie and I both work on that principle. It's just practice. I mean, one of the best ways to learn how to rescue animals, to be honest, and this isn't trying to sound immodest or egotistical, is to watch some of our YouTube channels, because you will see Lawrie and I rescuing animals all the time, all sorts of different animals in different situations. But you must remember, no rescue in 40 years, no rescue has ever been exactly the same. So you have to try to, I always say, you try to think like the animal, what the animal would do if it was in a bad situation. It doesn't want to be near a human. So just look at some of the YouTube rescues and it'll give you a damn good idea what to do, to be honest.
Mark has asked, do we ever use the cone of shame for foxes? I've seen them used for dogs. No, we don't. A lot of those, because foxes can be a lot messier. For a start, it's a lot more stressful for the fox, so we try and avoid that one. They do get very messy. They can very easily push them off, and then we don't want anything that can potentially get in the way of anything. We don't use it. I'm not sure if other rescue centres do. I've not seen a fox with the sort of head cones on. I don't know if you've got any more input with this, Simon?
Yeah, I think the cone of shame would really suit Lawrie. I think next week
I have worn one before.
We'll have Lawrie in the cone of shame. That works for me. Lawrie, you've got 2 minutes.
Wildlife rescue. Are you guys ready for the busy season? We're as ready as we think we can be.
Always ready.
It's always a shock when it first comes, but we will take it as well as we possibly can.
I'm going to start, Lawrie. Let me stop you there because I'm going to be very quick. People have been through this thread. I've been seeing people, what can we use instead of fruit netting on our plants and whatever. Netting is sort of all right if you're careful. Always check it regularly, but the most important thing is to keep it at least 2 feet above ground level, because the smaller animals will get stuck in it, the fox cubs will get stuck in it. If you've got to use netting at all, check it regularly. I mean, I've got a vegetable garden, and I purposely built round it some chicken wire. So all the way around the garden is chicken wire, both roof and side, so no animals can get in there at all. It's where I keep Lawrie when he's been very, very naughty. But that works. But again, if you do use netting, check it regularly and keep it at least 2 feet above ground level. That's all I can suggest on that. I wish I could think of something better, but that's the only suggestion I have off the top of my head.
A few people are saying I've been told not to put fat balls out for birds. Is this correct?
There's so many sides to this story. There are good times to put certain foods out, bad times to put certain foods out. Suet is obviously good. It gives a bird energy in the very cold winter when they can't get to food for weeks and weeks and weeks. There again, you shouldn't put peanuts in fat balls in the breeding season, because the adult birds feed 2 bigger bits of the peanut to the baby, and that doesn't do them any good at all. It's common sense. I mean, as much as all the wild bird food companies will hate me now, birds don't need feeding when it's not icy or snowy. There's plenty of food out there. They're not going to be short of food. I know we like to see them come to our bird feeders, but they're not desperate for it. So try to put out as natural a diet as you can, and obviously a bird's not going to get suet in the wild unless he gets it from any other source. Now Lawrie, my little Encyclopedia Britannica over there, will have to have some bright ideas on that. But just try to feed as natural as you can. Yeah. I don't know the answer whether suet's good or bad. I know it gives them a bit of an energy blip when the weather's really cold and snowy.
Yeah. The big issue a lot of people have had with the fat balls is the fact that people will put them in the feeder with the netting still in there, instead of taking them out of that netting that they all come in. And unfortunately, once the fat balls are depleted, crows, other things, they will pull that out, trying to get the last bits of it, and animals do get tangled in that. They can try and eat it, try and swallow it. That's the big issue that certainly I've heard of with the fat ball side of things, is that more the packaging it comes in rather than the fat balls themselves. Surefire, how long has Lawrie worked at WAF? About 6 years on that one. Approximately. 6 years too long, according to him.
Lawrie, you've got minus 30 seconds to sign out. So if you want to zoom the screen across so it's all you, I will say good night now, and Lawrie will say good night in 15 seconds before I pull all the wires out of his computer.
He thinks he can control it.
Oh, I can. Trust me.
So thank you so much to every single one of you for donating, for submitting your questions, for just watching us prattle on for 1 hour and 10 minutes. It means a lot. Thank you so much. Your support is absolutely invaluable, and we can only keep doing what we do thanks to you guys. So thank you as always, and we will see you in 2 weeks.